Okay, so this is the box with the hinges in it. And as you can see, everything is closing in the back and the front. This is the top. So one thing to mention with mine is I ran into some issues where there was a gap in the back, and I had to go and make the mortises for the hinges a little bit deeper on the top of the box and the bottom. So now it seats all the way. So the hinges are installed and that's good to go. So now I'm going to fix this little mess up right here. So I've got this little piece of walnut that I'm just going to glue into place, and then once it's dried I'll come back with a chisel and smooth it out and make it flush. So I just got a little bit of glue on it. I got a little bit of glue on the brass, but it'll come out. And so now that's seated right here. And when I apply a few coats of shellac and some wax, it'll blend right in. So the piece that I glued in here to fix my blowout has dried. So I'm just going to take a chisel and very carefully pare it down to get it flush. I don't want to take too much off in one pass to prevent any blowout again. So just take your time. And now we're perfectly flush. On the inside here, or on the top rather. And so now I'm going to very carefully take the chisel, reference the inside face, and flush it up. So I just got some 180 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to lightly sand the piece here to make sure that it's smooth across the top. You don't want to sand too much to where you create a dip, but just a little bit. And now it blends right in. There's one more thing we need to do to this box before we can apply some finish, and that is to break the edges with some 220 grit sandpaper. Now this is some used 220 grit sandpaper, so it's not real aggressive. So I recommend if you can get some used 220 or some 320 or 400, and to break the edges, that would work best. We're not going to round these over. We're just going to break the edges so when you touch them, they're not going to hurt your hands. So very lightly with this used 220, I'm going to break the edges, and probably about 6 or 7 swipes is all I'm going to do. I mean, it's not going to round it over a whole lot, but it's going to make it to where if you were to touch it with your hand, it's not going to hurt. These nice boxes are going to invite people to touch them, so you don't want to make it real rough. So about 10 swipes, and I'm going to go all the way around the box on all edges, including the inside, and break the edge. Even though we've already finished the insides of the box, that's fine, because we're going to wax the outside of the box as well, and that will refinish the inside of the box. And another reason we don't want to get carried away with rounding it over is when we put our box lid on and we round over the edges, we're no longer going to have a crisp, I guess a crisp look. You're going to see a light shadow, which that's fine if for some reason you can't get your box to lay flat or the lid to lay flat and you have gaps. What you can do is round over the edge of the lip consistently all the way around, so that way you'll hide the gap. But mine lay flat, so I'm just going to use some 220 and very lightly break the edges. And this is a personal preference, so if you don't want to do that, that's cool. That's up to you. And one thing I have left to do on this painted surface and the dyed surface is I'm going to have to finish that with some wax. I haven't done that yet, so we're going to go over that as well. But it's going to be the same as the inside of the box. And on the insides, you can round it a little bit more because your hands are actually going to be going inside of the box, and it won't interfere with the look of the lid closing. So you can round it over a little bit more on the inside. Now's a good time to look at all the surfaces before you apply any finish. So if you have anything that needs to be touched up, now's a good time to do that. So what I'm going to do is, I see that I have a little bit of an issue on this miter, so I'm just going to continue sanding it. And then when I'm done, we'll apply a simple shellac finish. So now what we have is just our same 1 pound cut of shellac still in the container, and that's what I'm going to use for the remainder of the box. So I've got my hake brush, and I kept it clean with some denatured alcohol, so we're ready to go. On the box lid, the only thing we need to apply finish to is the top, the sides, and the undersides. We don't need to put anything on the inside of the lid because we've already got that. And of course we need to avoid getting any on the raised panel, but since we finished it with shellac, if you get some on there, of course that's no big deal. So, getting my brush charged, and now we're ready to apply it. And man, does walnut look awesome with the finish on it. Comes alive from that chalky look. Since we're only applying a 1 pound cut, it's going to take several coats, probably 4 coats is what I'm going to put on it. Maybe more, depending on the sheen buildup. And so that is 1 coat on the walnut box. All right, so there's the cherry box with a coat on it. Now I'm going to let this dry. Since this is the first coat, I'll probably let it dry for about an hour, then come back and apply another coat. And the next time you're going to see this box, it's going to be time to put the hinges back on it, because we've already gone over how to apply a shellac finish and sanding between each coat. So just know that I'm going to be applying 4 to 5 coats, sanding in between with steel wool and or 400 grit sandpaper. But if I deviate away from that, I'll break in and let you guys know. So I've got a total of 4 coats of shellac on the boxes, and that's a nice thick coat, because shellac, when you apply a coat of shellac, it absorbs into the layer below it, creating 1 thick coat. So I'm going to take some 4-0 steel wool without any paste wax and buff the surface to give me a consistent sheen. And what this is going to do is going to give me a nice satin sheen to the box. I don't like a glossy box. A nice satin sheen is what I want. And now I'm also going to be getting the raised panel and the bottom panel, because I haven't used the steel wool or the wax on it yet either. So I'm just going to use the steel wool on it without any paste wax. Okay, I've steel wooled the box, so now I'm just going to go back and apply a coat of paste wax and let it sit for about 5 minutes before buffing it off. And I'm also going to apply it on the inside here where I had to replace or fix the blowout. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply it on the inside everywhere. It's not that big of a deal. It's just a second coat of wax. So now I'm going to let these set for about 10 minutes and then come back and buff this off. After the wax has been on the surface for about 10 minutes, I just take a cotton cloth and buff it. And you're left with a nice satin sheen and a real soft box. So let me go ahead and put the hardware back on this and I'll show you the completed box. Okay, so that'll wrap up the build series. As you can see, once you get bitten by the box bug, you will go on to make all kinds of boxes. With the basics that we covered in this series, you can go on to make all kinds of boxes, like this valet box without a lid, or this bigger box without a lid. I got to build a lid for it. That has feet on it, you know, decorative feet with a suede bottom. And of course, you can build junk drawers. This is a failed box that I ended up using to hold some bits in. But I hope you enjoyed the build series. And if you build this box, post it on SimpleCove. There's an option on the submit page where you can choose the guild that this belonged to. And this will go into a gallery on the guild page so you guys can see what all the other people's boxes look like. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see you in the next build video.